And Bet Online also put out odds. They had Deshaun Watson as a bigger favorite, minus 200, with Shedeur Sanders at plus 150. Dillon Gabriel odds were not on the board for Bet Online.
I believe Shedeur Sanders will have a chance to win this job. That Deshaun Watson probably has a slight edge over Shedeur Sanders.
Quote unquote, this is on Deshaun Watson. I'm told he's hit it off with Todd Monken, who's got an offensive concept, some elements that Watson has run in the past and been his best at.
There's a quiet storm building in Cleveland right now. And if you're only looking at the headlines, you're probably missing how fast the situation is tightening up around the quarterback room of the Cleveland Browns. Because while everyone keeps calling it a battle, the latest reporting, the Vegas numbers, and even the tone coming out of the building are starting to tell a very different story. One that feels less like an open competition and more like a runway being cleared for one name to take off first. And here's where it gets interesting. On a recent hit on SportsCenter, NFL insider Jeremy Fowler dropped a detail that didn't get enough attention at first glance, but might actually explain everything happening behind the scenes. Fowler said he's been told Deshaun Watson has hit it off with offensive mind Todd Monken, and more importantly, the system being installed includes concepts Watson has already operated in and had success with in the past. That sounds simple on the surface, but in NFL language, that's code for comfort, familiarity, and speed of installation.
Are you getting the sense that we may not actually get a true quarterback battle this year in camp for the Browns?
I think we will. I think
you still think it will be a real quarterback battle?
This is where we are in media 2026. Everybody has to know, like, okay, well, who's the starter going to be? We have training camp to go, and training camp is what always decides these things. Could there be a leader in the clubhouse? Yeah. And his name is Deshaun Watson. And that shouldn't come as a huge surprise to anybody. If you look at the ceiling for both guys, the potential ceiling, we know what what Deshaun Watson's ceiling is. He lived it for 3 years.
Because when a quarterback walks into a new offense and immediately recognizes the language, the structure, and the reads, things don't stay open competition for long. They start leaning toward whoever adapts fastest, and sometimes whoever is already halfway there. And Watson, for all the recent struggles and noise, has a baseline NFL ceiling that nobody in that room can ignore when he's operating in a familiar structure. But let's not ignore the other side of the conversation, because the league already started pricing this thing out like a decision has essentially been made. Sportsbooks wasted no time. FanDuel opened odds with Watson as the heavy favorite at around minus 174 to minus 200, depending on the book, while rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders came in as the challenger at plus 136 in some markets. Another book, Bet Online, pushed Watson even further ahead at minus 200, with Sanders listed at plus 150, and even removed third quarterback Dillon Gabriel entirely from the board in certain spots.
The some elements part is funny because, like, isn't one of the appeals of Monken that he can just do anything with anybody?
I think so.
One of the selling points was the idea that he doesn't have a system. He just adapts to whoever his quarterback is. So shouldn't some elements exist for Shedeur the same way it would exist for Deshaun?
Now think about what that actually means. Vegas isn't saying Watson is perfect. They're saying the information they're getting, or at least interpreting, points toward a direction that feels increasingly predictable. And when sportsbooks start leaning that heavily toward one player in a supposed quarterback battle, it usually means the market believes the job is already leaning that way internally, even if nobody wants to say it out loud yet. But internally is where this gets even layered, because this isn't just about arm talent or preseason reps. This is about fit, timing, trust, and system comfort. And according to Fowler's reporting, Watson and Monken aren't just coexisting, they're syncing. That matters in a way casual viewers often underestimate, because offensive installs aren't just playbooks, they're conversations. And when those conversations flow easier with one quarterback, the reps start to follow that rhythm.
Could there be a leader in the clubhouse? Yeah. And his name is Deshaun Watson. And that shouldn't come as a huge surprise to anybody. If you look at the ceiling for both guys, the potential ceiling, we know what what Deshaun Watson's ceiling is. He lived it for 3 years in Houston. Can he get back to that is the question. So I don't think this is a surprise, but I also don't think this is a done deal. I believe Shedeur Sanders will have a chance to win this job.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. When coaches start saying things like, "We'll let it play out in camp," while simultaneously building packages that naturally align with a veteran's strengths, the competition doesn't disappear, but it does tilt. Not officially, not publicly, but structurally. And that's where training camp becomes less about equal opportunity and more about confirmation. Still, not everyone inside or around the team is calling this settled. There's a strong belief that Sanders will absolutely get a real shot to win the job. And to be fair, that aligns with what the coaching staff has been hinting at publicly. The idea is simple. Nothing is written in pen. Everything is earned. But there's a difference between having a chance and being on equal footing, and those two things are often confused in off-season narratives. This is where it gets dangerous, because young quarterbacks walking into situations like this often believe the reps will naturally balance themselves out if they just perform well enough. But the NFL doesn't operate on symmetry. It operates on evaluation windows, timing, and situational priority. And once a veteran starts stacking consistent first-team reps, those windows get narrower for everyone else.
Yep.
We don't even know as a quarterback, but as a person.
Yep. I think that's we're boiling it down to the right direction there.
Even analysts discussing the situation have pointed out that while Watson likely holds a slight edge, it's not framed as a guaranteed lock. It's more like a lead in a marathon that hasn't reached mile 3 yet. If Watson struggles in camp or looks inconsistent in preseason action, the door absolutely stays open. Coaches have pulled starters before. They've changed direction midstream. That part is not theory. It's history. But then comes the more uncomfortable truth for the rest of the quarterback room. The expectation is not equal reps. Once a starter is named or even strongly implied, the structure shifts. That means fewer opportunities for Sanders and Gabriel to work with the first unit, fewer true evaluation snaps, and more situational or developmental work. And that's where perception can harden into reality faster than anyone expects.
I believe Shedeur Sanders will have a chance to win this job. What I won't say now is it's his job to lose, because I don't feel like it is. I feel like, from everything we're hearing, that Deshaun Watson probably has a slight edge over Shedeur Sanders. However, if Deshaun plays poorly in the preseason, doesn't look great in training camp,
And here's the key layer. This staff isn't approaching it as a popularity contest or a developmental showcase. The Browns reportedly want quarterbacks tested in real football situations, not clean drills or easy throws. Pressure, chaos, broken protection. Because when Myles Garrett is coming off the edge, nobody cares about mechanics. Coaches care about composure, timing, and survival under pressure. And that matters because Cleveland is trying to win now. This isn't a rebuilding team willing to wait years for development. That immediately gives Deshaun Watson an advantage. The Browns know he understands NFL speed and structure. The problem is they still haven't consistently seen the Houston version of Watson since he arrived in Cleveland. So the question becomes simple. Can that elite version still exist? Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders represents the opposite gamble: youth, upside, and long-term potential. But young quarterbacks rarely get unlimited time to develop during real competitions. That's why every rep and preseason snap matters for him. Then there's Dillon Gabriel, the wild card. He may not be the headline name, but internally the Browns clearly see value in him as more than just camp depth. What's making this even more interesting is the belief Cleveland could choose its starter early. The goal would be eliminating distractions and building chemistry before week 1. Because once a QB1 is named, everything changes. Practice reps, offensive focus, even the energy in the building. And honestly, that's why this no longer feels like a true 50-50 competition. If Watson keeps getting most of the first-team reps and continues building chemistry in the system, then this may already be his job to lose. At that point, the others wouldn't really be fighting to win the starting role. They'd be trying to change a timeline that already feels set. And maybe that's the real story here. Is this competition actually open, or is training camp just waiting to confirm what the Browns already believe internally?